Chapter 43. باب ما جاء في من لم يقنع بالحلف بالله. Chapter what is said about the one who is not satisfied with an oath taken by Allah's name. Someone is not satisfied by an oath taken by Allah's name. And as it's clearly mentioned in this title here, that negates the perfection of one's Tawhid. Why? Because it shows that the person does not have the exaltation and the respect when it comes to the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attributes. He's not satisfied unless you swear by other than Allah. This is definitely a disaster, right? And that's what happens to the people of swearing by other than Allah, those who their hearts are attached to the dead people and so on. They would swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lying, no problem. But when it comes to their saints, they would make sure that they're swearing by the truth. That definitely the ways of the disbelievers. So a Muslim, if someone swears by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has to be satisfied. Even if that person is lying, you take your precautions yet. Yes, of course, but you're satisfied by that, you do not go beyond that. So the hadith, which is one hadith mentioned in the chapter, this is only one hadith chapter. The Prophet ﷺ said, hadith of Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma, لا تحلفوا بآبائكم من حلف بالله فليصدق ومن حلف له بالله فليرضى ومن لم يرضى فليس من الله. He said, do not swear by your forefathers. Whoever swears by Allah, let him speak the truth. And the one for whom the oath is taken in the name of Allah should be satisfied with it, and whoever is not satisfied is not from the slaves of Allah. And this hadith is reported by Ibn Majah with good isnad. So as a way to have this honor and exaltation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a person has to accept it, but before a person has to be truthful in his swearing. If he has to swear, he swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, especially in matters of dispute. If it's a matter of dispute and a person is ordered to swear, swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and if that's the case, then the other opponent should be satisfied with that, and that it has some rulings to it. البينة على من ادعى واليمين على من أنكر. That, for example, in a matter of dispute, you go to the judge and you say, so and so stole this from me, right? So you have to bring an evidence, you have to bring a proof. Your words is not enough. So if you have evidence and the evidences are clear and the judge would give you the verdict in your side, mashallah, is good. If not, if you don't have evidence, what should the judge do? The Prophet ﷺ said that the other side, the one that is accused, he is to swear by Allah. He is to say, Wallahi, whatever the judge would tell him to say, by the name of Allah, I did not steal anything from him. If he says that, then no one is to cause any harm to this one that is accused, because there's no evidence, right? So this is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So if he would say, Wallahi, swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he didn't steal, then the other side should be satisfied with that. Even if he knows for sure that he stole the money from him, but he cannot bring an evidence, right? And he knows that he's a liar, but there's no evidence that he's bringing. In that case, he has to be satisfied, and he seek the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, unless he brings an evidence, of course. This is an example, but also the hadith means even not in matters of dispute, a person has to be satisfied with that, otherwise falling into matters of shirk if he orders to swear by other than Allah. So it shows that it's a warning for those who are not satisfied by the swearing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and also the mandatory thing of being truthful if someone is swearing, and there are many rulings in this. In swearing, you cannot say something that the other person might understand something else, like saying vague things. It's according to what the other side understands. If he says, Wallahi, I didn't do something that means more than one thing, right? Wallahi, I was awake, or thinking that he's awake with his heart, or some weird things that a person can say. In matters of uqud, matters of contracts, there's no such a thing as intentions that has more meanings than the words. The words that is being said, according to the other side, how he understands it, this is what you are bind with. The same thing with swearing. If you swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's not what you're saying then you mean something else. It's what the other side is understanding from you. Right? People sometimes they take an oath and they just read Quran, they say. This is not appropriate. It doesn't matter this way. If the other side is taking it from you that you're swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regarding to something, that means it's according to what they understand. And of course, to show that lying is haram, a Muslim has to be truthful. And also, that we have to have good expectations. If somebody swears by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is doing that frequently, it's one of the signs of the hypocrites, they do that. People swearing without being asked to swear, it's a sign of hypocrisy. A person has to be truthful, but if a person is asked to do that, he should do that, and then in that case, people would have good expectations of him. And if you believe him, this is a sign of al-Iman, because what the Prophet ﷺ said. So again, this is part of the Tawhid, part of the perfection of the Tawhid, because this is something to do with oath or swearing, which is something that perfects one's Tawhid, and the opposite of that is if a person swears by other than Allah, that negates the perfection of the Tawhid, as it's mentioned before.